done this. Not that it really matters, but this hopefully is going to be live on YouTube. Done this. Yeah, we're live. Not that it really matters, but this hopefully is going to be live on YouTube. Done this. Yeah, we're live.
Hey, amazing. Thank you, Hester. So my name is Mags and I help out with Trust the People. My background is in social work for children and families. And I'm here with Anira to talk to you about Trust the People.
And yeah, hi everyone. My name is Anira and I am a teacher and an educator. And yeah, today we want to give you a really short presentation on Trust the People, which is a movement of community organisers that are hoping to build a democratic revolution from the grassroots up. So it will be a revolution built by all of us, but obviously a peaceful one, and one in which we kind of step into our power. And a little bit of context about how Trust the People came to be. So the seed from which it grew was planted roughly at the end of 2019, after the last general election. And it came into existence because of frustration and desperation and an awareness that our society is hugely unequal, that our democracy was in crisis then and is perhaps in more crisis now. And not only is our society unequal, but also we're trapped into a system where the way that we live means that we exploit people and the planet and nature. And this is kind of largely in part because our political system is broken and it doesn't function as a democracy. And politics now tends to be dominated by people from the same backgrounds who are acting in the interests of capital and not the communities that they're supposed to serve. We've got 1/5 of the UK, and this stat is old, so I think it's increased now. This is from last year. So 1/5 of the UK lives in poverty, and yet the number of billionaires in the UK is ballooning. And during COVID, they've made more money than they have previously. We have a society as well that is blighted by systemic racism. So the colour of your skin impacts your opportunities, your likelihood of being expelled from school. And as a teacher, that's something that I really care about. Also, your likelihood of being killed as a consequence of force in police custody. So we have this society in which racial discrimination is a massive problem, and we know it's been a massive problem for a while, and yet nothing is being done to change that. Now we've had this fantastic groundswell movement where a lot of people are now talking about it more, but for years there's just been government reports talking about racial inequality and nothing is being done in response. And then we've also got this existential threat, which is the climate emergency, which is terrifying. Every day there's more news about the fact that the planet is kind of heating up, or that the ice sheets which used to freeze are not freezing. And we know that it's something that the British public care about, because on a survey last year, 85% of people surveyed said that they wanted action on the climate and ecological emergency. And yet the government, despite declaring an emergency last year, haven't done anything. And yeah, that's a particularly horrifying facet of our democracy. So this is the background to what made Trust the People start.
So Trust the People, it was motivated by horror at everything Anira has just said, but also hope. And hope because we know that system change is achievable. Like, look all around us at what's already happening in neighbourhoods up and down the UK and beyond. We've had millions of us step up during COVID to care for complete strangers during the pandemic. And mutual aid, like an anarchist concept of all things, is suddenly became commonplace. And we've seen community groups across the UK do so many incredible things. We've got the Transition Towns movement, which is growing from strength to strength, which tries to build a new fair economy from sort of communities upwards. And then we've got flat pack democracy. So This was pioneered in Frome in Somerset about 10 years ago now. And this was basically where a team of residents came together to take over their local council. So they stood for election, didn't join any party or anything. They just did it because they wanted to run their council for the benefit of the community. And what do we see when communities are run by the people of that community for the community? Well, loads of amazing, creative and quite simple things. So things like community fridges where, like, you know, donated leftover food is there for anyone to come along and help themselves to. You see things like libraries of things where anyone from the neighborhood can come and hire out anything that they might need for a low cost, like preventing every neighborhood from feeling that burden of having to own everything that they might need in order to get by. And also a partnership between health services in Frome plus the local volunteer groups that the council did so much to support. This led to a 22% reduction in A&E attendances. And I think this statistic is key because it shows how when you have organised, resilient communities doing things locally for the benefit of each other, like the benefits are kind of felt across the board. You have like greener, more sustainable, fairer ways of living, and people's health is also improved for the better, people's well-being. Like towns become nicer places to be because, you know, people care about it and are making change for it. And yeah, Trust the People is a close partner of the now national campaign, helping all councils be reclaimed by teams of local residents. And I believe there's 10,000 councils in the UK, so we've got thousands of elections happening in May 2021, and we need to support neighbourhoods all over the UK to start getting organised so that they can win those elections and start running things better. And then we've also seen Black Lives Matter, which has encouraged us to confront the legacy of colonialism and, you know, racial inequality that persists to this day in 2020. This reckoning has been long overdue, and this desire to face ourselves and our history and to make change, like we've needed it, and finally these things are happening. So change is afoot. We can feel it. But if we're going to create change that is going to endure and build a future in which all of us can thrive, including the planet, and, you know, regardless of skin color, this is about everybody, then we're going to need to create a system that is fair and inclusive and that responds to the needs of all of us and our planet, our home. So to do this, Trust the People is founded on the idea that we need to reshape our democracy.
And yeah, that's exactly what we are hoping to do. So we're hoping to fan these sparks of hope into a flame and into a democratic revolution and into a society that is built on deliberative democratic processes, where we use things like people's assembly and people's assemblies and their commonplace, and we consult each other and we collaborate, and it will be a society in which we step into our power and just work to shape something that helps all of us. And it's something that there is a lot of disillusionment at the moment, and with people in power and with the direction that we're going in. So this change is something that we desperately need.
And so this is no small task, right? I mean, like there's a huge thing that we need to do here. And to do good community organising, you know, it takes grit and it takes courage and it takes skill. And this is why Trust the People has developed a rolling 6-week free online community organising course and is now a network of community builders sharing skills and knowledge with each other, and also a peer support system, like a hive system where we match community organisers into like little teams or hives of 8 other organisers, so that together you can like support each other and like through the ups and the downs of whatever you're up to in your neighbourhoods. And so to help you do this, you know, we offer facilitated first sessions, so we can help you map out how you're going to support each other, and we harvest your good news stories so that they can be shared with the wider movement, because all of this, it runs on stories and it runs on hope. So we need to get that gold dust and just spread it amongst everyone so we can all feel inspired and encouraged to keep doing what we're doing.
Definitely. And we just want to give you a quick overview of the course. So we've got our hive system, but we've got this rolling 6-week course that's based around 5 modules. And just so that you know a little bit about the modules, the first module is called personal processing. And we really think that before connecting with others, we have to connect with ourselves. And so this module involves thinking about our identity, our biases, our relationship to society, and gaining a better understanding of who we are so that we can better understand others. And it's also about understanding the fact that we bring a story to every interaction, and everyone else does as well. So we've got to appreciate that and understand that. But it's also about taking time to consider our needs and building up the courage and confidence that we need to connect with strangers, because it can be quite challenging and scary if you're not used to going out and speaking to people you don't know. So that's the first module. Then our second module is called group support. And this is all about preparing us to work with others in a supportive and considerate way. So it looks at how we can build effective teams, develop skills in conflict resolution, and create emotionally supportive spaces. And it's just kind of the nuts and bolts of what will enable us to work well with others and collectively enact social change and unite behind a shared vision. Then we've got engaging communities, which is the third module. And this one's really important because it's all about looking at how we can go out and connect with people and reach out to people within our community and form relationships founded on trust. And activist circles tend to be dominated, particularly environmental ones, by people from certain backgrounds and the same skin color. And that's so problematic because we don't have diversity of perspective and we're not learning from people. And there have been so many studies that show, and also just experiences show, that when you have people who have different life experiences and they're bringing their view to whatever you're doing, you're just going to succeed much better. So it's just kind of really, really important that we don't just have spaces that are full of the same usual suspects, and that actually broaden out our society and our community to involve everyone and connect with other communities as well. Then we've got module 4, which is community assemblies, and this is all about people's assemblies. It's about teaching people how to facilitate and hold and organize people's assemblies so that they can use them in their communities to discuss issues, generate solutions, and find ideas to responding to local problems. And it's got kind of tips and tricks for how to organize people's assemblies, and encourages us to, it's got information on looking at how you can create a people's assembly that has a reliable input so that the results that come out of it can be acted on, and also so that they are actually reliable. Because if you've got information going into your people's assembly when people are making a decision on something and that's not accurate information, then people aren't going to be making an informed decision. So it's quite a big module and quite an important one that's quite central to a lot of the community building work that we hope Trust People will do and will help kick into motion. And then our last module is called community organizing, and this is all about putting ideas into action to create change. So this could be, like Mags was saying, taking over a local council, setting up a climate emergency centre, holding community assemblies in your area. So it's just all about thinking about where you're going to go next. What are you going to start doing to enact the vision for your community that you have?
So that's like the core content that we have there. And then this time round, this is the second edition of our course, and we've also got a guest workshop from the Kurdish Solidarity Network, all about how people's assemblies can take place and then start federating across a region in different contexts, which is really exciting and is a dream that many of us in Trust the People have, that will start to actualize in the UK. So proper grassroots organizing that can start to grow and network across different places. So yeah, come along, find out more about Trust the People, reach out to us if you've got an idea for a workshop that you'd love to run, or you think there's something missing in our content. Like, we love new ideas and new people and fresh faces. So yeah, this is very much a co-created thing, and we're just looking forward to seeing it grow and develop and change and respond to what different people have to bring to it over time. So yeah, that's Trust the People.
Our course starts on Monday. Yeah, for anyone interested, Monday and Thursday weekly, but there are other workshops as well. So come and let us learn from you.
Thank you so much, Mags and Anira. I think I first heard about Trust the People in March, and it never fails when I even though I'm in this project, like every time I hear about it, like afresh, as you guys just spoke about it just never fails to give me goosebumps and makes me really emotional as well, because the stakes are so high. Like I'm 40, and in my generation, like we've never had so much like fascism and right-wing government takeover, like all over, not just in one part of the world, but like everywhere. And we've never seen this kind of like widening gap of inequality between rich and poor just like continue to sort of get wider and wider. And it's the stakes are so high, isn't it? It's like this can't fail. We can't fail. I'm a mum, so it's very present for me. It's like the next generation requires us to leave the world a better place and to fix the broken society. So can I ask if your panel members, I'm gonna turn off some videos, and I'd love you to turn your videos on if you've been invited here today to give your responses right now. And if I get this right, so Julia, I'm gonna actually, hi Julia, it's so good to see you. I'm gonna actually stop your video for a sec, Julia, so I can see cancel spotlight on mine. So does that work? Are we 1, 2, 3, 4? Who am I missing? Oh, it's because Kinkin and Bavini are not you're outside, which is lovely. So I think maybe I'll just come to one person at a time, because I'm not quite sure how this is showing up at the screen. Is there anyone that's like ready to speak immediately? If you're still processing some of that, then that's fine. But maybe just like wave if you've got something like right on the tip of your tongue that you want to share, like how that's settled with you. Bavini, yes. I'm asking you to unmute, Bavini. Yeah, great. Go ahead.
Sorry, you can't see me at all now. I don't know what happened. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Maybe just get really close to your phone. Can you put like the flash on your phone or a torch or something? But we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, it's not my phone. Somebody else has set it up for me, so I have no idea how it looks up. Sorry.
You're with us. That's the important thing.
I think you touched on something, and the reason for me and the community project that I've been involved in for 6 months was because I knew people needed to get information from each other and not from external, because we're going to go through a really rough time soon. For example, the fascists are congregating again tomorrow in Central Town. And I have 2 friends that don't understand that that's what they're doing when they turn up to this thing on Trafalgar Square. I told them I'm their brown friend. For me, would you mind not going, even if you're against masks? So that's why it's so important, guys. We've got too much to lose. We really have. So be inspired. It's a beautiful journey. Loads of beautiful people. Charlotte is on this call. She's been part of those community circles. We found each other. We share space with each other. We have a laugh, and we do the important, vital work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Bavini. And you've touched on something so important, which is the community circles. I wonder, Charlotte, if you want to tell us how you got involved, or how you found even one of those. I mean, maybe at the same time, just like share anything that's on your mind after listening to Mags and Anira.
Hello everyone, can you hear me? Is that good? Fantastic. I'm new to this Zoom stuff, but we're getting there, we're making it happen. So, okay, so I found out about the community circles for a friend of mine. We had received some leaflets and we talked about going along and seeing what it was all about, because we found the experience after George Floyd was such an emotional tidal wave. His passing touched everybody. It changed everything. And it started a conversation, and it started a point of realization within the souls of all of us that we couldn't ignore. And then it opened up the door to so many other issues that are going on within our communities. Now, heading on to the circles, having discussions with people who had a genuine call in that moment, we couldn't ignore it. So my friend and I, when we walked up to the circles, it was not what we thought it was going to be. There was a sea of white people sitting in a round circle, and we thought, oh, this is about Black Lives Matter. Have we got to the right spot? Because when we've been to meetings before around Black issues, it's not normally that many white people that are involved. This is the truth. So it was quite refreshing and encouraging, to be honest, to see so many different white people from different backgrounds coming together, wanting to learn about how they could help, how they could be of service. They had an awareness. And in the beginning of it, where I had a bit of a reservation as to wondering what it was, my understanding grew, because I personally realized in that moment, if people were coming from a place of wanting to help and be an ally and be a support to us in a time where there is so much injustice, we had no choice but to stay and learn. And within those circles, as we shared, we realized that there were far more places to build bridges than there were to have separation. And we had so many open discussions that were really quite sensitive. But when we opened up the door, it was really humbling for both of us on both sides. There was an ability to allow them, the people that were involved in the circle. So I'm just going to speak really freely, right? Because I'm trying to be careful in how I say this, but I'm really coming from...
Please speak freely. Please, please, Charlotte. This is like you. I welcome that from you so much.
Thank you, Hester. I appreciate that. So coming from a place of being not so sure, then seeing that, no, look, these particular people have come to a place of realizing that they've benefited from a place of privilege. For me as a mother, for me as a community member, someone who's lived in Hackney for 11 years, I've seen the divide, I've seen the change. I've experienced working within the PRU systems, I've experienced working from a voluntary sector, I've experienced it working just as a member of my community, but I've never seen a tidal wave of people want to actually recognise their privilege like I have in this moment. So for me as a community member, these discussions within our circles have been really beneficial. I feel that the places where we can build bridges is if you recognise you're in a place of privilege and you recognise that you see injustices happening around you, speaking up in that moment is very important. What a lot of my community, I called them allies in the moment. I was like, I'm going to call you allies, because you've came into this circle willing to help and willing to be of service in a time where you can see brutality is still going on, racial injustices is still going on within the school system, within the work system, within our communities. Speak up when you witness it. Be a living testimony in that moment. Be a helping hand. So when I realized there were so many people that wanted to do that, it was just a great place to talk for both of us, for all of us.
That's so beautiful.
We've got so much more in common than what we realize, but this massive wall that is almost transparent, because we can see each other, but can we really see each other? And are we prepared to reach through?
And it's hard to reach through, and I've made so many mistakes growing up that now there are like these lights shone on them, and it brings me shame, and it makes me go, you got to hold your hands up when you're part of the problem.
This is what we found in the circles, Hester. Sorry to interrupt you in that moment, but this is what we found in the circles. Your that snippet of what you've just shared, that was a common narrative through most of the people that were within those circles. They needed a safe space to recognize it, confess, if anything. I think it was almost like a confessional space, like almost like a confessional space. And then I don't think they wanted it to be made okay. They just wanted to acknowledge that, my gosh, I've added to the pressure in my past, but now I'm at a point of recognition. How can I be of service?
Yeah, and there's not an easy way to do that. I've been trying to describe, like, over the lockdown, I got really, really involved in XR, and I found places where I felt comfortable, because there's lots of places, like this project is from Future Democracy and XR, but it's not. The Trust the People project doesn't have XR on it at all, and that's really important. Yes. I felt uncomfortable in certain places in XR, and that built up in me, and I didn't know how to explain what I was feeling. And I was feeling things that just were jarring with my sense of what is right in the world. And we have so many different like layers and crossovers of like things that are wrong, and everyone's story of it is different. So I can't really relate to somebody that's had a lot of privilege in their life. I just feel angry most of the time, and then that anger doesn't really get me anywhere. Just it kind of stops. It's like a block. And there's like this peeling back of the layers, and I got really angry last night in this meeting, because like I've got 3 kids. I was at 9 o'clock at night, I was still in a meeting. It's this project that's supposed to get funding. It's like marginalized communities trying to do some really good work. We haven't had any support, but we've been asked to do this work, and it's like, this is the same problem. You're asking the people at the bottom to just wait and wait and wait and wait for their turn, wait for their time when things get easier, and we're waiting for like this little trickle down. Maybe life might become fair, and the power still is held at the top. So like even within these movements where everyone like says, but I'm the good guy, it's like, or I'm the good person, sorry, not guy.
I know you.
I'm in here today as well, thanks. This is, like, maybe we can bring this into like how is it important to have these bonded communities, like speaking to each other in your communities. That's a huge bonding experience and something that we don't normally do. So like, why does it matter? Why does it matter to have a community? Maybe Indra, I could.
Yeah, I'd love to respond to this, because really what I've heard from Bhavini and I've heard from Charlotte, in a way, you've gone straight to the meat of it, you know, the experience of it, the value of it. But for a lot of people, there's quite a few steps that they've got to make before they get to experience what you've experienced. And when we first started doing our political platform, really it was with the question, why do we feel so powerless? You know, given how many there are of us and how few there are of the actual numbers of people who have the power, why do we feel so powerless? And it took me quite a while to really figure it out in terms of how disconnected this economy has made us. You know, we've all been, in a sense, addicted to a process that has divided us from each other. And part of that is the consumer economy that gets us to believe that the things we're looking for, we can get that through buying stuff. And that's what we've been part of, you know, all of our lives. This, you know, very well designed, actually, method of enslaving us to buying stuff that actually causes us to compete with each other, measure ourselves up against each other, and get status from having a handbag. You know, it's dehumanized us, and we've all become part of a machine, and that machine is destroying the planet. It's quite, if you look back at it, if you were to write a story about it, like a science fiction film, you would say, wow, that was fiendish, you know, the way that we've all become part of this machine. So what can we do to fight against the machine, in a sense, that we're all part of? And my sense is that it's only in community that we can break that power. It's through the power of relationship, you know, through really reaching out to people you live nearby or people you don't know, and opening up relationship with each other. It's like coming back to life, actually. You know, you start to feel things you didn't feel before. You start to act more like a human being. You know, you start to care about the things around you. And more than that, you also start to get those emotional needs met by the community. You know, you get your feeling of belonging, and you get your feeling of achievement and meaning from the people that you're now gathering with. And it's relationship itself is the antidote to the old economy. It's the thing that we were designed not to experience. And when we start to experience it, it offers a genuine alternative to what we're part of. So what I particularly love and respect about what Trust the People are doing is that they're not stopping at any easy idea of who the people are. So in a sense, the people rising are the people who have some clarity maybe about what it is that they're fighting for. But in a community, you really have to reach out beyond the natural uprising to include the people who never get part of the conversation. Because it's only when you really reach out to the people who are not even aware that there's a problem that you start to get a sense of the power of your community, when you add all of these different people up to each other. And that's something that I've seen Trust the People do really assiduously, trying to keep asking people outside of the circle, what is it that you are worried about? What is it that you care about? But also, what is it that you can bring to this community that other people would benefit from? And it's not just about, obviously, it's just not about people gathering and getting to know each other and having time, but it's really at the level that Charlotte's describing, where you can see each other and hear each other and become responsible for the relationships that you're building. It's I see it as a sort of almost quantum social change that's possible arising out of these radical relationship making that is going on now. And when I think about the uniqueness of what Trust the People is doing, having come out of Extinction Rebellion and then moving towards wider and wider communities, and then being able to really be in service to the moment of Black Lives Matter, bring all the tools, bring all the value to that great moment and that great calling, has been incredibly inspiring. But at the same time, I know this is happening in different places around the world. That's what's especially exciting about it, that this kind of waking up, moving into relationship, building community is happening in places all over the world. You know, it's happening in India, it's happening in Kenya, it's happening in Portugal, it's happening in parts of South America. So you really get the sense that this is part of a bigger evolutionary purpose, if you like. We're really capturing it here, but it's bigger than us too. And so to be able to make connection with people from different parts of the world doing this kind of work, I think will really confirm the moment that we're in and how we should really pay attention to it and really give our energies to it. So having said all of that, I don't think anybody's quite captured this term, trust the people, in quite the way that you have, which just puts the finger on it completely. It's like, why not the old politics? Let's trust the people. You know, that is the shift.
This is bigger than us, Indra. You've hit the nail on the head there. And the Joanna Macy, she calls this time the Great Turning. She might not live to see the end of it. She was a climate activist, those who don't know her, and she realized that the human race is destroying the very thing that gives us life. And it was like this moment of maybe like self-hatred in a way, and like how do I do anything now? Like, how do I come out of it? So the collapse of everything, the disintegration of that which is not going to continue forward into this new future. And here we are living in this moment, and we're putting the bricks, you know, we're laying the foundations, we're building this new house. And someone was talking about colonialism. Fanon, the French writer and theorist, he talked about decolonialization, which is burning down the house of the masters, burning down the house of the oppressors. And only then, when you tear the house down, can you rebuild the house with the new bricks, the new layers, the new systems. Bhavini and Kenken, I was actually going to come to Kenken. Are you still both there together?
She's had to leave, but I'm here. Just about burning down, you know, the thing that what upset me about my friends going to this march tomorrow, because they were against the idea of lockdown. But I was trying to say that you're going to a march that's also going to have is rallied by fascists, and we're at an impasse, and they can't really. And I said, I've just spent 6 months in 2 movements that are anti-capitalist. You know, Extinction Rebellion and Black Lives Matter are both anti-capitalist. You want to change the system. I've shown you, you could have marched with me how many times, right? And you are choosing the first time you're marching this year to go and march with the fascists. And they won't be told that they're wrong, because they're beautiful women. I call them my friends, but this is what community can keep. I've been busy, so I've left them. I've been busy in the community, and I forgot that my friends are my community too. And so they've had these dialogues and been checking the internet and made some leaps of assumptions, and it's made my heart break, because this is the value of community. We stop from that happening. We hold each other and have these formative dialogues, so that when you speak to a brown or black person, you remember why you're still towing that line of resistance to this capitalist structure, because it has not only destroyed and oppressed black and brown people, but white people too. We are all in it together. It is no separation here. And I say this when we are in the community circles, that the solution, there is no separation to this solution. It requires us to all sit in the same space and talk this out and become human with each other. And the circles left a lot of, and you touched on this before about grief, Hester, you know, it allowed a lot of white allies to sit there and cry a little bit because they're reflecting on some incidences they've been part of. And then some will share it with us, some will just keep it internally, but have a grieving session for themselves, crying of what they've done. Their glasses are being, the new vision is coming for them. And so they reflect on their past of how they have been part of the problem. But that's okay. We need to all go on that journey. There's no blame or shame now, guys. Let's just let's go to the accountability of who we are and what we've done, whether that be about environment, whether that be about the school system, whether that be about race, whatever it is, because none of us are perfect. We've all done things in the wrong way, in different ways. But what the community circles allowed is one of the things that we did wrong that was so scary to talk about, and that was race. This country hasn't talked about race before so openly. And it was time. And I'm honored and privileged to be one of the people to be in that space, to have these dialogues with other human beings in this country that are now ready. Not all, some are still scared. There's still more work to be done, but more people than ever in my lifetime are ready to take that journey. And for them to take that journey, I have to be in their space. So I welcome it. I welcome you all with all that you want to explore within yourself, because I'm a mirror. Every brown and black person can be a mirror for you, because that's what we're triggering. There's some people that run away, and some people will stand there and look, not look at me, but look within. What am I triggering with you? What history have you had with brown and black people? Reflect on those experiences again, because the chances are you would have stepped slightly wrongly along that journey. But once you acknowledge and find those bits, you won't make those same mistakes again. And that's what we're asking is, you know, it's therapy for us all. I'm learning to express my honesty with the white community. I have assimilated, I have stayed quiet, I have continued on. But now I have chosen to actually have that dialogue. And so there's a lot of bravery here from people like me and Charlotte, guys, because we have to hold ourselves. The emotional labor is with us all, but in particular with your black and brown friends, right? Because we're the ones having to step out of the shadows, and our journey, unfortunately, cannot happen until our white allies have gone through to reflection. And so it's been difficult. Don't get me wrong. I've cried a lot. I was saying I've never cried so much in my life this last summer. Because the other thing that happened for me, it was an awakening in myself, is that I had been complicit in allowing white allies to treat me this way. I hadn't spoken up. So I had an awakening. I started to speak up. I am starting to do it in my best voice I can and my open heartness as I can, to allow that bridge to form. Because there's times when I've lost my rag, don't get me wrong. There's been times when I've been screaming and shouting. And this is what we talk about in Extinction Rebellion with love and rage, that actually sometimes some incidences and some environments, I have to literally go in with a sledgehammer because they're not listening. But, you know, it's striking that balance. But I have too had an awakening, guys. There isn't a person that hasn't, black, brown, white, whatever color. We've all had an awakening, but our journeys are slightly different. But those journeys, if we talk about it with each other, we'll recover and create something beautiful together, because it requires us all. No one voice here. Thank you.
Oh.
Can I ask you, Ravini, to not give up on your friends?
She's not. She's a fighter.
No, I'm not. I know she won't. It's, you know, when I see my friends go to these rallies and refuse to wear masks, whatever it is, when they feel that they want to pursue their freedom and they have no idea really what it is that they're buying into, what it is that they've become part of. Part of me writes them off, and then I have to remind myself that we're all on a journey of, we're all on different speeds, we're on different capacities, we have different awarenesses, and so, yeah, I wonder what will happen the day after they've been on that event. Yeah.
But you know what, for me, this is what community is about. It's about really caring how your actions make another person feel. And if friends of mine were doing something that was literally hurting me and breaking my heart, and they were doing it anyway, like, they have to see me in pain. I'm not going to hide that. I'm not going to hide like my tears to someone else's feelings. And I keep doing this in these sorts of meetings and circles where I don't feel there are people who actually are on the same page in terms of inequalities and the justice movement and everything like that. And I make people feel really uncomfortable. And my friend Mercedes, who lives in Tottenham and her family's from St. Vincent, and she was like, Hester, that's what you're here to do. You're here to take people into that discomfort. And I did it on Sunday, and it was this launching of this new thing. And again, there it was, white people. And it was supposed to be something new, transformative adaptation. And I said, who's here and who's not here? And does it matter? And is it important? And if it is important, then something has to be done, because who are you speaking to? Like, every time you drink a cup of tea or drink a cup of coffee or eat chocolate or eat rice, like, that's what has built this kingdom, right? Everything we have, all our comforts, our cheap food, our cheap clothes, it's been built on the backs of others. There's no separation between capitalism and the death of the planet and the oppression of people. There's this woman, and now I'm not going to remember her name, but she does localization. That's her thing. And she said that the economic system of profit over people and planets led to extinction, not only by biodiversity, but extinction of identity and extinction of community. Because when a big supermarket opens near a small town, the town dies. Not big, you know what I'm talking about, like a big shopping center. The town dies. When I live in Deptford, and there were protests against. We never had a Tesco, we never had a Costa. We got the fruit veg man, we got the fishmonger, we got the butchers. Every other shop is either a hair shop, a bits and bob pound shop, or a fruit and veg shop. And then we started getting the pawnbrokers, and then we started getting the gambling shops, and we've got a big community, not only of families, and the whole world is in Deptford. It was a shipbuilding town, the whole world, and it was actually the gateway to the empire in a way, because it was the king's ships being built and going in and out. So people from all around the world have always lived here, but you had oh my god, I've lost my train of thought. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. But yeah, this whole thing of like, well, I haven't been involved. Yes, you are, because this is the system we all live in. And if we're going to take apart the system, then we have to know what it is. And it's not a question. When we talk about racism, it's not a question of whether racism exists. It's how we're enacting racism in our lives. So I've finally read White Fragility, and you were talking about the tears. Someone was talking about that your white friends, and then they from the circles, that's it, from the community circles, and then they went and they were crying, and they actually went away and cried. And the writer of that book, she talks about what the white women's tears mean to the Black community, and especially to other Black women, because when there were lynchings in America, there was a saying, a white woman's tears means a Black man dies, because a lot of lynchings would take place because a woman would make a claim of violence or rape against a man who was innocent. So there has to be this knowledge of the history of of what people have suffered. So we are all in this together, and there can be no moving forward unless we take down the divides and we heal. But that has to start by giving space to those people who have never been allowed to speak, you know?
There has to be a point of safe reflection. It starts with a choice. When I really believe in the beginning, when we came here, when we walked through our mother's womb and we came into this world, that is the truest point of from 0 to maybe 3 to 4 years old. What's important at that age really is what is important throughout our lifetime. For an example, I saw an amazing, beautiful video of 2 young little boys running towards each other, one black, one white. You couldn't, the joy was amazing. The way they just loved each other, they ran up to each other, big hugs, kisses. You know, you couldn't tell them that there was anything different about them. And there wasn't. But in that moment, they truly saw each other as just 2 souls, 2 people coming together. And when I think about my walk as a child, there's a change that happens when you reach maybe 4 or 5 years old. You start learning things, you start hearing things, and you are, whether it's your parents are conscious or not, they are teaching you certain behaviors. Then there's the people that are around you. And I suppose there is a point in our lives where we can go through our carrying thoughts and ideas that were just implanted into us. But then there has to become a point of recognition where we realize that no, if there's not justice for all of us, there's justice for no one. And I really do believe throughout this walk, joining this community circles, but before then, actually, forget the community circles, how I live my life on a general day-to-day basis, I see your colour. It's beautiful. It's amazing. You know, I respect it. And vice versa. I want you to see mine. I understand the differences in our lives. I understand the differences in our struggles. And I realise one thing I have seen growing up is that we are taught this separation, because I can look back to being a teenager and a girl that I was best friends with, her dad was National Front. Now, I had no idea what National Front was. She had no idea what National Front was until we turned 15. And then it became a problem. And the things that she was being told, now I understand the process a lot more. But then she wasn't aware of what she was saying. We've grown together in a friendship. For her, there was no difference between us until it was pointed out. So yes, we were no longer friends, but that is a point where I want to use as what Hester said, there was a point of recognition where in your past, you may have been a part of certain things that had caused hindrance to another. Those points of recognition are super important. They're so important for us because I believe that once we have them, we can really start to look at ourselves and allow the awakening to penetrate even deeper. You know, you can really allow yourself to say, okay, wow, I was a part of this and I was a part of that. But deep down, was I really comfortable in it when I walked away? Because a lot of people are actually not comfortable in it when they walk away. They actually know that that was an act they didn't want to partake in. Yes, there are a lot of that are not aware of it. Absolutely. I'm not putting a blanket over everything, but it is so important for us. I suppose what I'm trying to really draw at is the reflection of self. We need to be encouraged to spend time figuring out who we are and why we're here. I think we've been so desensitized from looking at ourselves because we need to look outwards and buy this thing and get that coat, get that handbag, as Indra said, you know, that's going to give us that sense of satisfaction. No, it isn't. It's about learning how to nurture ourselves in order to nurture one another better. For me, that is paramount. That is one of the most important steps on the bridge for me. Because if you cannot look at yourself in the mirror and address those things that are not okay, how can you really address anything outside of who you really are? It's impossible because you're not looking from a point of truth. So what I found when I spoke to my beautiful allies in the circles is that they had reached that point. And they needed someone of the Black and brown community to, like I said, it was kind of like a confession, but it wasn't about me okaying it. It was just, look, you know what, I recognize it. And wow, I caused pain in an area that was not okay. And I don't want to be a part of this system anymore. So you see, that to me is the pinpoint. We can keep it moving from there.
Yeah. And I want to say, thank you so much for that, Charlotte, because I want to say that is the moment that it collapses. You know, when we say that we can't do any building until the whole system has collapsed, I would say it's when it collapses inside of you.
Yes.
That you can start building.
Agreed.
That's your moment. We don't have to wait for everyone. We don't have to wait for the whole thing to be visible.
Agreed.
But the minute you feel it collapse within you,
exactly.
You just feel this strength arising and you feel this connection with others. I mean, the amount of outpouring of love and energy in that time and still going on now, and I even feel it here in this room, you know, that brings power. It brings, you know, strength.
It does.
It's the people coming together. It's the people losing their shackles, literally. It's, you know, I feel so great to listen to you. I feel so much strength listening to you. You know, so that's what can happen in our community building. And it starts to ripple, you know, and it becomes the attractor as well.
Absolutely.
And people can feel that that's going on somewhere in their community, that something's going on.
Absolutely.
I want to come and be part of that thing. What's that thing going on? I can feel it.
Exactly.
And that's the ambition, right, of Just the People, that it should just be a massive attractor for energy and agency of people, especially in the face of what's going, you know, of the rubbish that's going down more and more. You know, the old powers are being dethroned, right? In our view, we're watching things collapse. We're watching authority collapse. The last thing we want is to feel that we don't know what to do. But we're so lucky, really, that we feel more and more exactly at this time that we do know what to do.
It's so true. It's so, I really agree with that. I really agree with that. It's a massive tidal wave. I'm going to keep saying his name. George Floyd's death was a match. It was a match that sparked a tidal wave across the nation. I felt more connected to the world in that moment than I've ever felt in my whole entire life. And it breaks my heart that someone had to lose their life for this to happen. But I see, on my whole years on this earth, I have never seen nothing like it. I have never seen a global community come together in the way that I have seen it in the past few months. And that, to me, brings me so much hope. And I agree with you, Indra. It starts with the one. It starts with the one, and then it causes that domino effect, and it just keeps going. This is why we need to encourage each other to look at ourselves. It's okay to look at yourself. This term selfish, you know, if you look at yourself, if you look after yourself, you're seen as seemed as selfish. Now, I'm not talking about in the material point of view. I'm talking about the spiritual point of view, the eating good, the drinking the water, exercising, taking the walks, spending time with people, all of those things, looking after self, not just being that robot that goes to work and comes home and goes to work and comes home and then does that all over again. That's denial of self. Let's continue to encourage each other, to look at each other, and it's okay to look after each other, because in that we'll look after you, and then you'll look after the next one, and you look after the next one. You can't not care for each other. Oh, I'm so encouraged in this moment, but there's so much more to do. I'm not, I'm by no means, Bhavini knows, like no means fooled by just because I feel encouraged in this moment. There's still work to do. It needs to continue, but I'm encouraged that it will.
I've got a few things that are right here and I'm going to share them, and then maybe if it's okay with us, we could ask some of the other people here if they want to contribute anything. So one is that I want to name that we're here as women. We're women, and this collapse, this letting go, this release, this allowing it to fall apart and die away. Like we experience that in our menstrual cycle every however many days, 26 days, 28 days, 30 days, and our society basically told us that that was something that's dirty and to be ashamed of, and don't understand, just don't think about it. And that's what aligns with the moon and the tides and the harvest and the food growing and babies being born, and everything aligns with that. So that's our cycle to actually teach the world about, now I'm retreating, now I'm coming forward and I'm in my moment and I'm ovulating, I'm going to take on the world and all the power of creation is in me right now. And then that dies and I release that. And then I start again. Like this idea that we were just on a one path trajectory in a certain direction, completely against all of that. So I just want to name, women have a lot of teaching one another and everyone. So I'm 40 years old. I only took an interest in my menstrual cycle when I was about 38. Can you believe that? I was taught at school, don't make it your excuse. I learned from those ads. Oh, I could jump out of a plane. I could go climb a mountain. Like, don't let it hold me back. No, because we have to retreat and we have to reflect and we have to know what we leave behind and what we take forward. And without reflection and pause and stopping and hibernating, like there's nothing. So the collapse, but that deconstruction of everything, the losing of your religion, that's painful. Like that's a painful process, right? And so is the menstrual cycle. I can't remember the other thing I wanted to say exactly. Maybe Bhavini had a thought. It might come back to me, but yeah, just a lot of love, really, to you all.
Oh, I think one of the things I've recognized is empowering women will lead to some. So we talked about race, that's one area, but the other area is empowering not just women, but women of color. Women of color, we come with a DNA of billions of years of light dust that we haven't been able to express in our fullest color. You haven't seen anything from us women in comparison to the privileges that white women have had in terms of expressing themselves, instead of in terms of radiating out and not having to worry about things. And really, Gita, she is the radiancy of all of us. But when some of our light has been suppressed and others have been burning too brightly, it's time. Let that woman of color shine, because we really haven't. We don't even, I talking as a brown woman, I don't even know what my capacity is, or the next generation of brown women, because we haven't been given that to be able to be, you know, I am in the most privileged position of a woman of my age who's single, who's financially independent, who doesn't have to answer to any man or woman or creed, and able to express myself as I choose, and who also chooses what she does. This is a rarity. I am a rarity at this moment in point in time. But let's pave that way so that more can come, because more are coming. They're ready. We just need to provide that space, and I welcome this space today. And it's some of those lessons that one needs to kind of really practice. So I was talking about meters and how much space is given to a person of color to speak versus how much space a person of a white ally might take, because it is not even after this call, maybe do an analysis of how many minutes each of us have spoken, because you'll find that it's actually permutates all over the place. Even when you think you've got your eyes open, you've got your checks and balance going on, guess what? It still happens, because I've been taught to stay quiet unless I've actually not, you know, and not come forward mostly. And my white ally women have been taught to go forward. So we have that disparity, and it happens, you know, across the board in my interactions. And it's not to say that it's just those minute, it's the macro things, guys. Just tune into yourself, because it's the macro observations that will make the biggest impressions. So look inward, because it's your behavior of each of us. I mean, mine, you know, the blaming and then shaming thing that I'm trying to really unwrap and say, I can talk about this without going into that space. I can communicate with my heart so that it can be heard in a more profound way. You know, I'm challenging myself. So I ask every person to do that challenge within themselves, or reflect, you know, because guess what? When I feel uncomfortable in a room, other people also feel uncomfortable, but they don't reflect on it, because we haven't. So, you know, leave a meeting and say, was there any point that I feel uncomfortable? Because actually there'll be times where you will, and it's not because you were uncomfortable, it's because I was uncomfortable and I was anxiety in my voice, or I got a bit kind of shaky. You know, it happens a lot for me, or that I've spoken too long because I'm trying to get that one point across, and I'm repeating in different ways so that it might resonate in different ways. Because when I speak, I said this the other day, there's 100 people in the room, maybe only, if I say one story, maybe only 20 people will get it, and there's 80 people that didn't. But if I'm given a platform enough to tell 3 or 4 stories, maybe 40-50% of the people might get it, because we're human. We all need different stories in order to connect. And this is where the profound thing that people can offer right now is women and people of color in particular, and my brothers of color. Give us some space and let us tell our stories, multiple stories, because they will hit different people, and we will educate quicker, because we can't sit in circles one-to-one all the time. Because we've got work to do, guys. We've got to keep moving forward. Thank you.
Arundhati Roy in her essay The Portal talks about when we step through, right, this time of collapse, it's like a portal, and as we have a choice. We either drag, I'm going to get it wrong, but like we're either going to like drag the heavy weight of the past, and the polluted skies, and the dirty oceans, and the, you know, the pain and the wrong and all of that with us. We either drag that with us, or we step through lightly. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for what you've shared. Like my heart was like thumping so hard as I was listening to you earlier, and then it was like breaking, and I like had all this adrenaline rising, and and you feel it. I mean, even though this is a screen, like you feel it, don't you? When someone's really sharing difficult stuff and they're being vulnerable, like you really hear it. And I am, thank you, Bhavini. I'll look back like, oh my God, the time spent, who's been talking the most? Charlotte, do you want to say any more? And then if we want to, we could open it up to anyone else. There's a lot of things in the chat going on.
Absolutely. I think that there's such a valid point. Opening up the floor to people of colour is so important, because one of the things that I have found foundationally, as brown people and black people, they have been used as cattle to build rather than encouraged to build their own communities. And one of the things that I have looked at with all strong communities, they really look after each other. They're encouraged to look after each other. It's not seen as a negative to look after each other. And I realized that one of the dysfunctions that has trickled down from the past is that we have not been encouraged to do that in the same way. So I have seen there's been a massive rebirth even within that, because we are so much more awakened to that now. So it is important that we do have a space to speak and reflect that our built community is well worth building. Our people are so worth investing in. And one of the things that I believe with like organizations that are led predominantly by white people, if I cannot see myself in that seat, then I cannot see how your organization is going to represent me in any shape or form. And I find this a lot within all organizations that ask this same question: how can we reach out more? How can we help more within the community? What we don't need is a white savior. What we do need is help and encouragement in resources in order to build from within. So for me, having a platform where Black and brown voices are encouraged to speak freely in unity with our allies, because there really is no separation in true recognition and understanding. You may not have complete empathy of a Black or brown person's walk, absolutely. No one would expect you to, no one. But at the same time, the willingness to help build, the willingness to strengthen, absolutely. That is something that I am passionate about. That is something that I believe more than ever is possible in a time like now. And any way that I can facilitate that and use my voice to speak up positively, I will, because I believe that it's a story that needs to be spoken on, more. And platforms like this are fantastic. Spaces where we're able to listen and share. There is an amazing feeling, even though we're sitting at the computer. I can feel it. The vibe is there. It's real. It's not fake, people. YouTube family, it's not. It's absolutely real. It's a wonderful thing. Just more spaces of self-reflection and free thinking. Yeah, I'm encouraging it. Absolutely, let it happen.
Thank you. Yeah, Julia's clapping.
Yay, Julia.
Don't even want to put it into a box to say like how great this has been. There's no real, I can't put it into a few words. Julia, do you want to ask anything or contribute anything? Because I see that there's you've been putting a few thoughts into the
into
I
the
know,
chat.
I'm a pain in the neck, aren't I?
No.
I can't be quiet. I'm so enthused. Listen, I'll tell you my quick story. I'm disabled, right? I've had a bad back since I was 15. There are times in my life when I've been unable to walk, and I've been in communities where they've pulled through and helped me by taking me to the toilet and helping me so many ways. Come back to bloody Britain, and I had to look after my elderly parents because my sister and brother turned against me, and I ended up being a 24/7 carer. Got really ill, couldn't go back to the States. I stayed here, bought a place, and I've been picked on and discriminated against, bullied, treated like dirt. I'm a white privileged person, but fortunately I'm not my body, and nobody is their body. They're not the color of their skin. And I'm just so happy that people are standing up now, because everybody has a right. Everybody's got a soul, and we've all got a right to speak up and be honored and blessed. And usually women are the ones that have taken all of the support, and they're the ones who kept the tribes going, the elders, the women, the postmenopausal women. And in America, the Constitution was written on most of the indigenous folks' beliefs, but the one thing they left out was giving the final word to the postmenopausal women. So I'm just reaching out, because since lockdown I've been able to open up. I was really like wishing I were dead before, just because I've been treated so bloody badly. And I'm being discriminated against because I sound posh. You know, I had a bit of money. My dad died. I got money to fix my garden and make it disabled friendly. I put all my money into that. I didn't drink, smoke, or, you know, gamble or do anything else. I put all my money into my garden and my living space. And then, yeah, XR has been great because I didn't have to drive over to Mahuntleth to be with my group, which is a 45-minute drive each way. Could stay at home, get online, did all the trainings, did lots of actions. I've been like made the outreach person for North Wales XR, and I've done a lot of artwork, lots of posters. And if you want to look in the chat, you'll see I did a rise up. Have a look, have a look, have a look. I see. You like it, Charlotte and Bhavani? Yeah. So basically, you know, I just hate it. This is what makes me so angry, when people judge others by the color of their skin, their religion, their background. It just drives me nuts. I can't bear it. It's wrong. And we're all, yeah, I mean, we might all have different roles. We're all different with different abilities, but yeah, I heard everything you were saying, and I love what you were saying, Bhavani and Charlotte and Indra. Fantastic. And Hester, you were in the middle of saying about the Tesco's. Your villagers protested against having a Tesco's. They did in Mahuntleth as well, because they've got a market that they've had running since medieval times. It's part of the constitution for that town of Mahuntleth. They've got their local shops. The one big shop they have is the cooperative on the way out of town, but in general, most people just go to the local greengrocers. They've got all the fresh and local stands and the organic fruit vendors. And yeah, so I'll shut up now.
Thank you, Julia. I mean, this thing about food, like food sovereignty and land and ownership of land, and like who has land, who can grow food, where does the fresh food go to, what's it priced at?
Esther, I'm a lot older than you, don't forget. And all of this stuff that we're doing now, like people trying to go off grid, it all started in the 60s. We were traveling around with the TPs and doing fruit. Sorry, I interrupted. That was
no, it's all right. It's all right. It's another side of life, actually, where there's always there's the inequality shows up. You know, when it comes to food and connecting to the land, and who has access to land and who has access to wild land, wild spaces, who's stuck in a concrete jungle, who's not.
I'll tell you a quick story. When I stayed in Priscilla,
Julia, I'm just gonna, because we're supposed to finish in 5 minutes. I'm gonna see you on Monday anyway, Julia. Julia's, oh well, maybe not, but she's one of the bright, colourful cohort members of our last course. And I'm so glad
it's Monday, Thursday, and Friday on the, but I can't get a ticket. It wouldn't let me open it up.
All right, I'll help you out afterwards. But yeah, if there's anyone, we did say we'd finish at 7:30.
I'm so sorry.
It's all right.
I'm just checking in the chat if there was anything in particular that was like asked.
Did you buy this for me?
I mean, if there's not, I'm not looking at the live thing. I'm not really that bothered. So sorry if you're on YouTube and you've been posting questions, but I maybe check out then, like just say, what would you hope for? Maybe if you can ask everyone that's watching right now, like what would you hope for that they could do next?
I would really hope that we all go on this journey together, that awakening. And you know what, when we go on the awakening as individuals, but then we greet each other and share some of the awakening along the journey, because the journey will continue as long as we communicate with each other, because none of this is easy and we don't have the answers. We will find those answers as we walk this journey together with open minds, open hearts, and presenting with your soul. Because guess what? We have this moment, our lives, whether you're young or old or whatever, but it's this moment, not the past, it's the present. And if we can keep respecting that the past did happen and grieve a little bit along the way, you can't grieve all of it all in one go, otherwise we won't be able to step forward. So just share, grieve and share, and flourish. Grieve, share, flourish, because we are a cycle and we can't do it in one hit. They've been doing it this way. We don't have to do it this way. Hester, you are absolutely right. We cannot do it in that fashion because we are humans. And let's remember that when we talk to each other. So with love and rage, because that's needed. Thank you for listening.
Indra.
I'll be honest, and it's not often that you'll hear this from me, but I've really got nothing to say at the end of this meeting. I've heard so much, I've felt so much, and I'm trusting so much, really, as a result of what I've heard. It's strong, and it's a moment, and yeah, I'm so grateful to be part of it. Thank you.
Charlotte. Wait a second, you're still muted.
Perfect. Sorry about that. I'm so hopeful. I'm really hopeful that this is only going to get better, but I also know it's going to become kind of uncomfortable at times. What is coming to me in this moment is, you know, like a heart monitor. It goes up and down, and there's some smooth points, and it goes up and down. This is the reflection that I'm seeing over this period of change. And I really would encourage everyone who is going through those changing moments to allow those uncomfortable moments. When you think that, oh, you know, everything is okay, something else might raise its head, but keep persevering. And then you're going to have those euphoric moments where you're going to see massive change. Allow it. But don't forget to really look at who you are every step of the way and just be that mirror. I suppose that's what I loved it when Bhavini said about the mirror and the reflection, because that is something I believe in firmly. If we can be mirrors to one another, in peace and love, I think we're all right. I think we'll be going along the right path. That's where I'm going to leave it in that moment.
Thank you for your wisdom tonight. And go well and be safe. And I hope we do this again.
And really, thank you, Hester.
Yeah.
Really,
totally.
thank you.
Thank you, Hester. Thank you, Hester. Thank you so much for giving us a space. It's awesome.
Thank you, Hester.
It's been really fun.
You're beautiful, ladies. Love you. Thank you for sharing.
All right, I'm gonna. If anyone wants to stay in the room after, you can. I'm gonna stop recording. I'm gonna stop live streaming, and I'm gonna say hello to my son who's been waiting very patiently.
Oh,
Go.
Was that